Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're going to take a look at credit card CDW, collision damage waiver, specific for if you're going to rent a car and want to decline the insurance. We're going to talk about everything you need to know from how the CDW works. We'll take a look at some of the payment in networks to compare, their different policies. We'll talk about the different types of insurance you could get, and of course, we'll come on the other end of this with a few recommendations and cards that carry this benefit, at least at the time of taping. So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, when it comes down to it, this is going to be a credit card benefit we'll talk about in detail, but primarily here we're talking about when you're going to rent a car from one of your major rental car companies. When you get up to the counter, they're going to ask you, hey, do you want the insurance as well, or do the collision damage waiver or not? Now, it's important to note that sometimes you can even be covered through your regular auto insurance, right? So obviously we're not going to talk about that too much, but it is worth noting that you should take a look at whatever auto insurance you already have, but perhaps you don't have auto insurance. Maybe you live in like a New York City where having a car isn't nearly as significant as it is of being in the motor city like myself. And well, then you have an option. You can either pick up that from the car company, rental company, or you can rely on a credit card, right? So a few things to understand here that I found interesting to start is one, how it normally works is, the rental car company isn't actually offering you insurance. Instead, the rental car company actually has insurance policies on their whole fleet of cars, as you would imagine. And what you're really paying for is a waiver, and that waiver says, hey, if something happens, the car company will go through their insurance and sort it out. They won't come after you or your insurance, right? Now, those waivers and price kind of vary, but again, it can be a lot of money over the course of, a week's long trip, something like that. So, certain credit cards offer this benefit. So, how it works is generally you have to decline the waiver from the rental car company, put the whole purchase on your credit card, and that credit card is going to cover you. Now, there are two types of coverages to be aware of, though. There's primary and there's secondary. Now, primary, we always refer to it as primary CDW, primary collision damage waiver, and that is going to say, hey, if something happens, the card, they're going to step in and handle it, up to a certain amount, we're going to cover that. They won't go to your own auto insurance right away. Now, secondary is the opposite of that. Secondary is saying, hey, you're going to have to hit your personal auto insurance first up to a certain amount, and then we'll step in. So obviously primary is kind of one of those things that we're really looking for, but even then, primary, sometimes there's different dollar amounts and things like that. Now, I'll say this before we take a look at some policies here. This is largely a network benefit. And by network, we mean payment network. So Visa, Mastercard, Discover, American Express. Though Discover generally doesn't offer any of these benefits. So really, we're just talking about the main three here, which means that when something's a network benefit, that means like the card issuer, Chase, Bank of America, American Express, Wells Fargo, whoever it may be, they can choose to accept these network benefits and offer them to card members. They can decline them outright, or they can even come over and make their benefits better. So don't necessarily assume because you have a specific card from a specific issuer, it's necessarily going to be covered because it's a Visa, because it's a MasterCard, right? So again, we'll talk about some examples, cards that offer this towards the end of this. So that's how it works. That's something to keep in mind. Of course, if you go to it, again, you're going to be looking for travel cards, but if you go to the card issuer site, they should show you it because, again, the card issuer wants to sell it to you as a benefit that they are offering you. So with that, I pulled up Visa's policy. American Express has a level of it as well, and so does MasterCard. So we're going to spend the most time on the Visa policy because it is the most detailed one that I found. I'll link them all down below. But again, they're all kind of similar. Again, it's largely going to depend on the cards you have. So we're going to jump over, take a look at that, then we'll come back here for final thoughts and recommendations. And so here we have it, guys. We are on the Visa version of this. Now, of course, this is dated way back when, but still believe this is still current, or at least current enough for our benefits, of course. We'll link the full thing down below, but we'll kind of go through. We're not going to cover every single detail here, but, starting at the top. So, what is the rental collision damage waiver, or CDW? So right here, collision damage waiver. Benefit offers insurance coverage for automobile rentals made with your Visa card. Benefit provides reimbursement subject to the terms and conditions for damage due to collisions or theft. So, of course, who is eligible? That's important to know here. It is funny that they say, your name actually has to be embossed on the eligible Visa card. So, basically, the primary card holder, of course, if you add someone to the rental agreement there, then you'd be fine as well. But here, what losses are covered. So again, we've got, you're talking about three things right here. So physical damage, loss of use charges, and then reasonable and customer towing charges as well. So it breaks down something like that, also be covered. So again, this is another important part here. So please note, how long it lasts, because again, you wouldn't probably often have a rental for this long, but I did, one time, my car get hit, and you do end up with a rental car for quite some time. So, it's important to know that you could potentially go over this, because again, it doesn't have to be used on a vacation per se. It's just usually the best example of it, but important to remember the time duration there. So how does this cover work with your insurance? So again, if you do not have personal automobile insurance or any other insurance covering this theft or damage, this benefit reimburses you for the covered theft or damages, as well as valid administrative loss of use charges imposed by the auto rental company. Now, if you do have it, other insurance covering this theft or damage, the auto rental CDW benefit will reimburse you for the deductible portion of your personal automobile insurance and any unreimbursed portion of a valid administrative. So basically what they're saying is, if you don't have, if you get into a normal accident, you'd have to pay a deductible. So they say, hey, we could potentially pay that. Now, this doesn't really call out primary or secondary here, but again, I think it's because this is a little bit dated of a document. So important to know here what type of vehicles are not covered. So following vehicles are not covered: expensive, exotic, and antique automobiles, certain vans, vehicles that have an open cargo bed, trucks, motorcycles, mopeds, motorbikes, limousines, and recreational vehicles. And they've got some examples here of what they're calling, like, upper class here. So examples of expensive or exotic: Aston Martin, Bentley. Some of these, a DeLorean, really. Ferrari makes sense. Lamborghinis, selected models of BMW, Mercedes, Cadillac, and Lincoln are covered. So I guess you could get an Escalade or something. So there we go. What else is not covered? So again, we don't have to go through all of this, but again, obligation you assume under any agreement, injury to anyone, damage or anything inside the rental vehicle or outside the rental vehicle, loss or theft of personal belongings, things like that. So again, there's quite a bit of things that aren't covered. I mean, it's really talking about it's in the name, right? It's collision damage waiver, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's not going to fall underneath that. So where am I covered? Kind of break down, where this works at. How do I make sure my auto rental CDW benefit is in effect? So initiate and complete the entire rental transaction with your eligible Visa card. So you need to pay for or decline the auto rental company's collision damage waiver option or similar provision. Of course, they're saying, hey, be sure to check rental vehicle for prior damage, and then review the auto rental agreement carefully. Of course, do your homework basically. So what if the auto rental company insists that I purchase the auto rental company's insurance? Call the benefit administrator for help. I think they're probably just getting you to document that somehow. They say, they made me do it, and they're not giving me another option. So that doesn't really happen too much, I don't think. So filing an auto rental CDW claim. So basically you can phone in, or they have a website through usually through your like Chase portal, right, or whatever. You can get them there. When should you report an accident? I mean, the incident, it's usually as soon as possible. They're saying, hey, no later than 45 days. You definitely don't want to wait. What do I need from the auto rental company? This isn't important here because this is all your documentation. So a copy of the accident report, copy of the initial and final auto rental agreements, copy of repair estimates, 2 photographs of damage. You should definitely probably grab those yourself. Police report if obtainable. So some of these things you will have to get from the auto company. How do I file a claim? Again, see, here's the site we're talking about. So if you go here, we can just open that up really quick. See, this is kind of what the card benefit service is, right? You go through here, you could start a new claim, enter in your card information, get started, and see how happy that guy is because he's covered. So again, that'll be the link to do it. You don't necessarily have to go through the phone. Do I have to do anything else? Usually there's nothing else you need to do, of course, but they say that, and there's a bunch of other words down here. But overall, you can see that's Visa's document. Again, yes, we just kind of skimmed through it, but that kind of gives you, this would still apply to any Visa card, right? Again, you're just going to check with the issuer. Now, really quick, if we jump over to American Express. Now, American Express, I'm really more so pointing out that they have secondary coverage, but they have basically, you can pay and get some extra coverage as well, right? So this is kind of where the site where you would go to enroll. So again, what they're saying here is you can save on car rental coverage, pay a flat rate for vehicle rental for up to 42 consecutive days of coverage. Not per day rental or car companies may charge. You can choose from 2 coverage options. And there you go. You can kind of go through and see through the options. So theirs is a little bit more complicated than the Visa, which is, hey, is it primary or is it secondary? Does the card offer it? But there you go on that. And of course, we just went through Visa, so we're not really going to go through this one here, but this is Mastercards as well. Mastercard guide benefits. All these documents are kind of dated, so I guess they don't really update them too often. But again, you can kind of see it's going to go through the rental agreement and basically the same deal, that we just did on Visa. So if you want to go through this, I will link all three of these down below. But overall, again, that's kind of like a high-level summary of how the CDW works. So we'll flip it back to the regular view here. We'll do some final thoughts and card recommendations if you're interested in looking for this perk. And so there we have it, guys. That is how the CDW insurance works. Now, overall, I think it's a pretty good perk to have. It's one of those that a lot of these cards are going to be travel cards, so they're going to have annual fees, and this can really help offset an annual fee. Again, if you take one trip a year, that revolves a rental car for maybe 2 or 3 days, this could easily take care of the annual fee and then some, provided, again, that you don't necessarily have this option through your normal auto insurance. Now, with that, there are a few cards, again, at the time of taping that do offer this, so we'll run through a few of these now. Now, most of these are going to be, your travel cards, like we said. So the best one out of the gate, I think, is the Sapphire Preferred. Sapphire Preferred, at the time of taping, comes at a $95 annual fee. You can easily make it $45 with that hotel credit, and you're getting the primary CDW on that one, for $45 annual fee, effectively. Now, it's got a little bit lower of an amount than its big brother, the Sapphire Reserve, which also has primary CDW. Of course, that one's clocking it at a $550 annual fee. You do get a little bit more coverage on that, but it still is much more expensive of a card. The Capital One Venture X is a very popular card, very affordable travel card. This one also has it. Plus, they also have, some rental perks in there, like you get a high multiplier if you rent through the Capital One portal. I think you get something with Hertz as well, some kind of Hertz status on the Venture X as well. So there you have it, guys. That is credit card CDW Insurance Explained. So, of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we're posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And, of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. Question for you guys is, let me know down below how you use primary CDW on your cards, or is it something that you prioritize in value in cards, especially when picking a travel card, or any success stories that you've had using it. Love to hear your thoughts on that. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching, and talk to you very soon in the next one.